Good evening, guys. It's out in my shed tonight working on this crosscut saw. It's something I picked up in August for about $45 at a flea market, and it was in pretty rough shape. A lot of surface rust. There is a bit of pitting here, and I've been using a lot of online help to get this thing fixed up. I don't know much about saws, but I am learning. And so what I did first is I cleaned up this saw, the blade, with sandpaper. I used 100 grit sandpaper and WD-40, making sure to sand with the saw. I made sure to stay away from the teeth. You can damage the kerf if you sand the teeth. And apparently when you're sanding, these little microscopic scratches can actually affect the way the saw cuts. So you always want to sand with the saw. I also heard that a sharpening stone with kerosene works well for cleaning the blade. I removed the old handle, made a new one, a lot more comfortable. And eventually I soaked the blade in vinegar for almost 2 days. This helped remove the rest of the rust from the teeth. You know, just a small amount of rust apparently can really affect the way it cuts. And when I first started using the saw, it was binding on itself. I built a jig to hold the blade straight for sharpening, and I'll probably make something better, but for now this is pretty good. I cleaned up the teeth with a 3-sided file, making sure to follow the edge. You know, I wasn't really sharpening it, I was just cleaning it up. And I bought this leaf feeler gauge to make this gauge. This is just out of a piece of steel. This is for checking the kerf. It's really hard to see, but on the top here there is a groove that goes down 0.012 mils, and that's the gauge you use for checking the kerf. Here's a better view of that notch I was talking about. I got another piece of steel up against it so you can see just how thin that is. At first I thought the kerf was shot and that's why it was binding on itself, but apparently it was just because of the rust. I made a blade guard from an old hose. After soaking in vinegar, it kind of left the blade dull, so I shined it up with a wire wheel on the drill. I rubbed a mixture of beeswax and palm oil to condition the blade and handle. And the saw cuts much nicer now, it doesn't bind on itself. And pretty soon I'll be taking this saw on my sled to my winter camp for cutting firewood. That's the whole point of this saw, is to make it usable. You know, this isn't a full restoration, it's not going to be perfect. I'm just trying to clean it up to make it usable. You know, I wish I could just send this away to somebody and get them to do it properly, but I'm doing the best I can. There's still some more work on the teeth. You know, the raker teeth I gotta to check. Probably go over and give it one more sharpening. But it looks way better than when I got it, and it's much more usable.